Greetings to you, people of Zimbabwe, and everyone who cares to listen. This is a public statement that I am making this very moment. I am responding to the utterances that were made by Minister of Home Affairs Kazembe when he was doing a press conference. I find that it is urgent that I make this statement because I find that the statements of this minister are not only inflammatory and also they are dangerous to my life, dangerous to my assignment, and dangerous to the lives of those that work with me. I want to remind you, fellow Zimbabweans, that such statements were once made in October of 2018 by our Vice President, and in less than a year, a very tragic incident happened in my life, in which I lost my wife and two brethren in the church who were servants in the church and very close to me, not only in my spiritual work as a minister of the gospel, but also in my personal life. So before I make my response to those statements, I would want to invite you, believers all over the world, and those that listen to me or watch our videos as we conduct our services, to watch the video so that we can hear the minister himself making the said statements, so that I can then respond in perspective.
Thank you, Piers. Good evening, everybody. The government of the Republic of Zimbabwe has noted with grave concern a recent upsurge in rumors suggesting an imminent military coup d'etat in the country. Government would therefore like, through the agents of the Working Committee of the National Security Council, as convened here in terms of Section 209 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment number 20, Act 2013, to unequivocally debunk and dismiss these rumors with the contempt they deserve. The purveyors of this false coup narrative claim that former members of the Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front, ZANU-PF, who fell by the wayside and largely went into self-imposed exile at the advent of the new dispensation in November 2017, are coming together in a united front with some named senior government leaders, some members of the security forces of Zimbabwe, and elements of the opposition formations. This is in a bid to taint the image of His Excellency the President, to undermine the legitimacy of government, and to render the country ungovernable. They further claim that once the contrived coup d'etat is executed, they intend to establish a national transitional authority which will then govern Zimbabwe, minus ZANU-PF, for an unspecified period. Of course, nothing could be further from the true reality of Zimbabwe's security situation now and for the foreseeable future. Indeed, both claims of a military coup and a national transitional authority in the making amount to mere agenda setting by merchants of discord amongst our people, with the support of their foreign handlers. They are completely unfounded. For the avoidance of doubt, there is no coup in the making, nor is there any form of transitional authority or inclusive government that is contemplated by the new dispensation, except in the fertile imagination of the purveyors of this false narrative. Government would like to sternly warn the purveyors of these medley falsehoods who include such characters as Xavier Kasukuwere, Job Sikala, and a coterie of their accomplices who we are aware of, not to cry foul when the long arm of Zimbabwean law catches up with them in due course. They peddle this false narrative through opposition-aligned print and electronic media, including such non-attributable internet-based platforms as Gambakwe Media, Neanda Radio, ZimEye, various anti-government hashtags, and thousands of trolls. There's quite a number of civil society organizations which have also enlisted onto this illegal subversive bandwagon under the control of certain diplomatic missions accredited to Harare. This narrative, which also sets an agenda for and promotes negative political activism, including coordinated fake abductions and media campaigns, has of late robbed in several self-proclaimed local and international prophets. These include one US-based Nathan Hambrid of the so-called Miracle Ministries, Talent Chiwenga, a self-styled rabid anti-government Harare First Street preacher, Simon Chilo of the so-called Deeds of Christ Ministries, and a few others. Most intriguingly, there's concurrently evolved a palpable pattern whereby certain foreign missions accredited to Zimbabwe are now in the habit of misleading their capitals.
Right, I think we have heard enough from Mr. Kazembe. So I was saying I find this press statement dangerous and inflammatory. I want to add on and say that I also find this press statement dangerously insightful, in that those who sympathize with the ZANU-PF leadership may take the law into their own hands, like what they have been doing for all these years, even without the direct instructions of government and government officials. They may actually put my life in danger, because Minister Kazembe has expressly and explicitly mentioned my name in this press statement. He has said I am a rabid, self-styled street preacher. The word rabid simply means I am very violent. I don't know in what way am I violent. You know, we have a serious problem in our country, a serious problem of the cultivation of the spirit of fear, or a leadership of fear in our country. I do not have the capacity, nor do I have the authority to comment on the scope of what the minister was saying regarding the rumors of a coup d'etat and other issues that are addressing or that are affecting other institutions, media houses, political parties, and so forth, because I am not authorized to speak for them. And I'm never going to assume that role, because it doesn't help anyone. I'm going to respond to this speech specifically on the basis that the minister mentioned my name. And he said I am a rabid preacher because he says we are peddling, or we are pushing anti-government messages, negative comments about the government, and attacking or undermining the person of President Mnangagwa. Now, in his only threats, the long arm of the law will catch up with me and others. This long arm of the law, in my understanding, is something that is very dangerous. When you hear a ZANU-PF government official talking about the long arm of the law, he will be actually talking about the long arm of the lawless. There is no safety in Zimbabwe. Nobody is safe. Like I was saying earlier on, coughing may be a crime in Zimbabwe. If you do not say you support ZANU-PF, then they would actually label you anti-government. They are going to call you a puppet of the West, and they are going to call you an enemy of the revolution. That's what they do, which is very dangerous. First of all, I want to say it's unfortunate that Mr. Kazembe, President Mnangagwa, and his subordinates and anybody in government thinks of me like that. I do not see myself as an anti-government preacher. It's a misconception of my assignment, and it's a needless attempt to attack a preacher of the gospel. The only difference that I have with other preachers is that I do not support ZANU-PF. I've never said I support ZANU-PF. I do not support ZANU-PF, neither do I support MDC or any other political party in Zimbabwe. I support Jesus Christ. I support the gospel. I am a servant of Jesus Christ. Needless to say that I don't support ZANU-PF and other political parties. I also want you to know that I do have a right to support any political party of my choice. Even though I'm a preacher, what I'm not allowed by the gospel to do is to be a politician myself and start my own political party and start to participate seeking to hold a political office. The gospel does not allow me to do so. But I am allowed to be a member of a political party of my choice, not only by the gospel, but even by the constitution of Zimbabwe. If I chose to support MDC, that could be my choice, and I would not be offending anyone, and I would not be committing a criminal offense. It is permissible at law. Even if I would want to start a political party, it's still permissible at law. Labeling me a supporter of a specific political party is a demonstration of desperation on the party of our national leaders. I want to read 4 scriptures, and I'm hoping that through those 4 scriptures, I'm going to show you the reason why I preach the way I do. I preached differently from other men of God, like Mr. Kazembe observed, and he said, I'm a self-styled. I think what he meant to say is I preach differently from what they are used to, and I'm going to address that very soon. We are going to hear Ephesians chapter 5, verse number 11, and then we are going to read Proverbs chapter 15, verse number 12 and 32, and then our last scripture, we are going to read it very soon.
Ephesians chapter 5.
Yes, verse number 11.
And have no fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness.
Do not have any fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness. This is the instruction of the word of God. I am not allowed, Mr. Kazembe, to have fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness,
But rather reprove them.
but rather rebuke them. So instead of me coming to identify with unfruitful works of darkness, which I'm going to address very soon, what are the unfruitful works of darkness? Instead of being fellowship or fellowshipping with them, the instruction of the word of God is that I have to reprove them. I have to rebuke them. And that's what I do. I do not fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness, but rather I rebuke them. So let's hear Proverbs chapter 15, verse number 12, and then verse number 32.
A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will you go unto the wise.
A scorner does not love one that rebukes him, neither will he go unto the wise. So what is happening, Pastor Baloyi, is that our government, our leaders, they are used to having bootlickers around them. They are used to having court jesters around them. They are used to having beggars around them, licking their feet, dancing to their rhetorics and political rhetoric and falsehoods. The government has never labeled Ezekiel Guti a self-styled rabid preacher. Neither have they called Mutendi of the ZCC or Makandiwa, for that matter, Magaya, Passion, and who else? They've never labeled Wimbo a self-styled preacher. ZANU-PF, when they are conducting their rally programs and whatever they do, they have churches around them. They celebrate them. They do not tell them the truth, and they are used to that. The reason why they do not invite me to those meetings, it is because they don't like my message. I'm not somebody who is a culture of compromising my dignity, my integrity, and my assignment for personal gain or personal recognition. I don't seek to be recognized by Mr. Kazembe as a preacher of God. I don't seek that. I don't desire him. Neither do I desire any government official. Even our president himself, I don't desire that he says to me, you are a true preacher. It doesn't add value to my assignment. The word man of God, it means servant of God. It means one that has been sent from God. I don't seek validation from them. The dictionary definition of the word rabid is extremely violent, that is furious, or going to extreme lengths in expressing or pursuing a feeling, interest, or opinion. So they say I'm an extremely violent preacher, but I've never been arrested for beating someone. I've never been arrested of killing someone. Now, it is important for you to, believers, to understand that we have gone a long way. I've survived a lot of assassination attempts, and I've written 2 letters to President Mnangagwa complaining that I was being harassed. I'm being stalked. Sometimes I see vehicles stalking me, pursuing me, and when I'm flying out of the country and coming back into the country, at the airport, I'm also being harassed by members of the Central Intelligence Organization, security individuals, holding my passports, quizzing me and interrogating me needlessly for no apparent reason. Now, is it your wish, Mr. Kazembe, that we all sing the praise songs that you are used to from these religious leaders that you have not mentioned in this press statement? Do you want me to speak like Guti does towards you? Do you want me to speak like Mutendi? Those who worship you, those who are afraid of you, those who speak highly of you and are blind to see the things that are not right in our nation. The last scripture that I want you to read, Pastor, it is Proverbs 29, verse 26 and 27.
Men seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment cometh from the Lord. An unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked.
I don't know. Let's read it again. Men seek the ruler's favor, but every man's judgment cometh from the Lord. Everybody is seeking the favor of ZANU-PF. You can't do business peacefully in Zimbabwe if you are not a crony of these rulers, of this ruling party and its officials and the government officials. But then in verse 27 he says, any unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is abomination to the wicked. Take note of the word the way there. It's referring to Jesus. It's referring to the gospel. Jesus in John 14 verse 6, he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So coming back to Ephesians chapter 5 verse 11, I have no fellowship with unfruitful works of darkness. I have to rebuke it because that is what the scripture has instructed me to do. But I've got a question to Minister of Home Affairs, Honorable Minister Say, Mr. Kazembe. The long arm of the law that you said is going to catch up with me and others whom you say are pushing a negative publicity, anti-government speeches and so forth. My question to you is, when is this long arm of the law going to catch up with those who killed the 7 people that were murdered just after the 2018 election? The cold-blooded, the inhuman, the flinty, and the ruthlessness in which the state security has abused, maimed, blinded, sexually abused, violently abused, attacked our people, our citizens. When is this long arm of the law going to catch up with them? When are we going to see the long arm of the law catching up with those who killed this Chenjerai guy who was killed recently in Bulawayo? The police shot at a vehicle, and all the bullets that fired at that vehicle, they didn't even, not even one went to the tires, suggesting that they were trying to stop the men from fleeing. They had an intention to kill that man. When is the long arm of the law going to catch up with those who were killed in the February demonstration? When? When is the long arm of the law going to bring justice to the murder of Tondera Indira? When? When is the long arm of the law going to catch up with the virulent demonstration of corruption that we have seen in this country? When? I have been attacked severally in my life. I went to the police station expecting justice from the long arm of the law. When we were attacked by ZANU-PF youths in Kwekwe, the police came and fired, they fired into the air to try and to stop the hooligans from attacking us. They kept on throwing bottles and stones at us. The people who attacked us, the police saw them. The residents in Kwekwe, in Mbizo 4, they saw them. They were never arraigned before the courts. When are we going to see the long arm of the law catching up with the proper criminals? When? We see people being brutalized in this town, in this city of Harare, every day by the soldiers, by the police. The Motlanthe Commission came up with the conclusion that those 7 people who were gunned down, it was the soldiers who killed them. When is the long arm of the law going to bring those soldiers to justice? In your speech, you are saying they are unfounded media theories that are being peddled against the government, which means they are false. But you've got cases in which evidence was presented before the law enforcement. They were only supposed to compel a docket and take the criminals to court. They were never taken to court. This long arm of the law is ready to put me in jail. It is ready to catch up with me. But it is not ready to catch up with those that are actually committing true and real crimes, real offenses. Since when, Mr. Kazembe, is it illegal for a citizen to speak against their leadership? Since when is it a crime? Yakazoita mhosva rini kutaura kuti hurumende haifaniri kuauthorize mapurisa kana masoja kana ma-CIO kuuraya vanhu. Hurumende haifaniri kuuraya vanhu vayo. This is a rebuke. It's not an anti-government statement. It's a rebuke. God does not accept you to kill people. It doesn't matter who you think you are. And when I rebuke you like this, I know you hate me so much because you are not used to getting rebukes. You are used to hearing people calling you honorable, mtekwa tekwa, mutakura nzombu dziri hata. You are not used to hearing a preacher calling you foolish when you do things that are foolish. I am going to do that. And take me to the courts, take me to the law. If I have committed a crime, why haven't you arrested me so far? You cooked a frivolous and spurious allegation against me in Mtare, which is basically another way of harassing us. Is that going to end? And when is that going to end? Citizens have a right to speak their minds, their opinions. If they are falsehoods, then why are you bothered by falsehoods? Why are you bothered? Do you think I'm going to come to you to ask you to validate me as a true preacher so that you stop calling me a self-styled, rabid preacher? I will never come to you seeking validation. You have no power to do that. These are spiritual matters and you are a carnal man. You have no clue about godly things. You think you are above reproach and you have made yourself feel like demigods in this country. Nobody can say something that is against you. Nobody can criticize you for your actions. You are used to doing things with impunity. But I'm not going to do that. I know what happened in that accident was not a natural accident. I know the hands of the security people were involved in the accident that I got involved in. And in the right time, we are going to come up with with enough evidence to show the world that that accident was not natural. Our quietness in that regard is not a sign of foolishness. Is it lawful, Mr. Kazembe, for a comedian to be abducted and beaten up because he produces comic work and videos criticizing the government? That is the work of artists and journalists. They are allowed to do that. The government must allow people to criticize it. It enables government to improve in its operations. The government must consult the church so that the church may tell you what God wants and what God does not want. You are running away from the true church. You have surrounded yourself with religious puppets, religious prostitutes, individuals who have no shame, individuals who have no dignity, who are willing to come and ratify that what you are doing is right in the eyes of God when it is not right. I will not do that. I will not do that because I want nothing from you. I don't expect you to write us a check so that we can have some few dollars from you. God does not accept blood money. Mr. Kazembe, maybe this is the last time I'm going to speak because my life is always in danger. You have always been trying to abduct me and to kill me. I know that. And I want to tell you that I'm not afraid to die. But let me tell you, Mr. Kazembe, you are a member of a bloody cult. You are a member of an enterprise, an institution that survives on shedding innocent blood. You belong to a leadership cult that has possessed this country as if it is their private enterprise. You are a member of a party that survives on killing people and instilling fear in people, silencing the voice of the people, making sure that whatever you do, you are going to do it without being questioned, without being made accountable, without being asked to account for your actions. You are used to doing things with impunity. Zimbabwe does not belong to ZANU-PF. Zimbabwe does not belong to Mr. Kazembe. Zimbabwe does not belong to President Mnangagwa. I am a Zimbabwean, a bona fide Zimbabwean. I have a constitutional right to speak my mind. Nevertheless, being a man of God, even if I was not a man of God, I would still have a right to speak my mind. Not so many months ago, Victor Danda was saved. Robert Mugabe wanted to kill him. People helped him to survive the assassination attempts of Robert Mugabe. But right now, because he is a member of a ruling party, he no longer talks about it. He no longer talks about the safety of people. Victor Danda came out and recorded videos in which he was criticizing Robert Mugabe. We saw those videos. They are still there on the internet. And for that, Mugabe wanted to kill Victor Danda, and he survived. Is this what you want to have in this country forever? Should there be freedom of speech but no freedom after speech? Is this the country that you want us to have? Is this the country that our brothers and our elders brothers fought for that protracted, long armed struggle against colonial rule? I don't think our brothers lived in the bush for all those years and encountered all those perils in the forest so that they can come and take over and resume the repressive and oppressive acts of the colonizing colonial government. Ashid, this country is in fear. Everybody is afraid. People cannot even say that they are not happy that prices are continuously rising up. People are afraid to talk. What are they afraid of? They are afraid of you, Mr. Kazembe. They are afraid of the police. They are afraid of the army. They are afraid of the Central Intelligence. Everyone is afraid. People are only free when they are in their blankets. That's when they whisper to each other's ear, the president, what he's doing is not right. Something must be done. But I am not in fear. I don't fear Mr. Kazembe. I will speak until I die. Kill me. I think you are warning this. I'm recording this video for the people of Zimbabwe to know that you have started again. Atanga food. And I want to tell you that the reason why you always want to put people in fear, it is because you are cowards yourselves. You are cowards. And I will tell you 3 characteristics of cowards. Cowards are afraid to face their weaknesses. That's why they want to force everyone to tell them that they are good, they are doing well, they are performing well. If you are not cowards, you were going to say, we are hearing what you are saying. Give us advice, what should we do to correct things? I don't want to be a minister. I don't want to be a member of parliament. I don't want to be a president. But our president must save us. He is not saving himself there. He's supposed to be saving the interests of the people. The government has not provided protective clothing to our medical staff. The government has failed to provide protective clothing and protective equipment to the police and the council officers who are enforcing the lockdown instructions. The government has failed to provide masks to its citizens. And the government is saying it is a crime for one to walk without a mask. When people cannot find food, how does a government that is responsible expect its citizens to buy a mask? When the people cannot afford to buy maize meal, how can you expect our rural people, our people in the high density suburbs to survive? That is not responsible. That is cruel. That is a sign that you have failed to lead us in this country. This is not leadership. And this is why you want to silence my voice, so that I may become quiet like everyone else. You want the world, the international community to think that things are well here. You want to give an impression that you are giving us the best of leadership. Well, this is the truth. You are not. All the promises that the president made when he was campaigning to hold the office of the president, he has failed to fulfill even one of them. He promised to protect the girl child. He has failed to do that. The girl child is being assaulted. The girl child is being abducted. The girl child is being raped by the soldiers, by the police. He promised that he was going to create jobs. Right now, he has created more unemployment by passing a very unreasonable law in which he was saying all the combi drivers should seek employment from Zupco. Zupco is a failed company. Hapana singazvizive kuti Zupco haigone kuita, hapana chainogona Zupco. How do you expect the unemployed youths were finding something, getting some small money to find food, to buy themselves clothes, because they were drivers and conductors of combis, which you are now saying it's illegal for a combi to operate in Zimbabwe unless and except they go and subscribe to the Zupco company, which is a failed company. It has been run down since its creation. That is not what he said. He said he was going to create jobs. Now he's shutting down the little jobs that were there before he came in. I want to ask you, Mr. Kazembe, before this illegal coup that you staged in your party and took over power and became, you came into power and took over from Mugabe. Before then, there was Mugabe and his government. From 2015 to 2017, bread was selling for 90 cents per loaf of bread. How much is a loaf of bread today? How much? Pastor Bale, loaf of bread, Mari? $55 rofu rechingwa rakabva pa90 cents kuenda pa$55. Is this the new dispensation that we're talking about? Ndo new dispensation yacho here nayo kazembe? Is this good leadership for you? Robert Mugabe wamakabvisa aripo chingwa chaita 90 cents imi mauya chiri kuita $55. Ndiyo new dispensation yacho here. Now I want to say something before I close down this statement. President Mnangagwa doesn't need anyone to negatively publicize him. He is able to do that himself. Nobody needs to negatively publicize our president. He does that pretty well himself. He's good at that actually. A president doesn't speak like the way he does. He doesn't talk about building a very cool mortuary and offering to pay somebody who dies first to enter into that mortuary. A president does not say that he wants to send the army if he suspects that the Kwazana residents are the ones behind the drought that we have, the absence of adequate rain for our agricultural activities. A president doesn't talk like that. Everybody sees what you are doing. You are abducting people, you are threatening people, you are passing laws that are oppressing people. Everybody sees that. And if we are not going to condemn that, then you are saying there is no rights in Zimbabwe. This is a banana republic. You are turning Zimbabwe into an African North Korea, where people bow down to Kim Jong-un's stature wherever they see it. What is it called? Chimudhuri chakavezwa cha Kim Jong-un chinopfugamirwa. It's called what? A statue. It's a statue. People bow down to Kim Jong-un's statue. This is what you want Zimbabwe to do. You want us to bow down everywhere when we see you, in fear. How can you pass a law that forces MPs to stand up when the president walks in? Should you force people to respect you? Or you should ask around, why are people not respecting me? And address those concerns if you are a leader and not a ruler. People of Zimbabwe, this is the Zimbabwe that we have today. Today is the 10th of May, 10th of June 2020. And this is around 7 minutes to 11 Central African time. I do not know if tomorrow by 7 o'clock I will be alive. We live among vampires. We live among dragons. We live among bloodthirsty individuals. And this is the reason why I have recorded this statement. There are people out there who are bent on pleasing these people. They may attack me even without taking direct instructions from Minister Kazembe. You should not instill fear in us, Honorable Minister. That is not what you are there to do. The salary that you get, we are your paymasters. We are the ones who pay tax. You are a government servant. We should not fear you. You should fear us because we are your paymasters. And do not think for a second that by mentioning my name in that reckless statement of yours, I am going to fear you. I will never fear you until the day I die. When God gave me this assignment, He warned me that people died for this gospel. I am ready to die for the gospel. And I'm telling you today, I am not going to be the first to die for the gospel. Neither am I going to be the last. God is going to raise other men of God who are going to have fear towards God and not fear towards men. What pushes me to preach like this is not my hatred for you. but rather it is my fear for God. If you knew what was in my heart, you would understand that I don't hate President Mnangagwa or anyone. I love you with all my heart. But love does not instruct us to play a blind eye when something that is not right is being done. Love does not compel us to be silent when injustice is being perpetrated against our fellow countrymen. Love forces us to rebuke what is to be rebukable. What is rebukable? To speak against what is not right in the eyes of God, what is unjust, and what is evil. If God opens your heart and your fellow cabinet members' heart and your president's heart, he's going to realize that it is a blessing to have a person like me in this country, because I truly hear from God. And like I said in my letters when I was asking to meet with President Mnangagwa, I do have God's instructions concerning President Mnangagwa's administration. I can speak to him, and if he heeds that call, if he heeds that advice that God has given me concerning him, you are going to do better in this government. And when you do better, people are going to accept you. People are going to enjoy your leadership. And that is going to create a peaceful environment in our country. Not everyone in this country is interested in politics, Mr. Kazembe. Not everyone wants to have a political party. Not everyone wants to hold a political office. No, some of us have better things to do. Preaching is better than what you are doing, Mr. Kazembe. Because on the day you die, all that you are doing shall lose value exponentially, rapidly. But what I'm doing is going to give people eternal value. I'm giving people something that they are going to come out of this body with. And if God is going to help you, I'm hoping that this speech that I've made tonight, is going to change your heart and change your approach. We respect you so much, all of you. There is not even one person that I do not respect. But do not expect the God that sent me to respect you. You will be a fool to expect God to respect you. This is the end of my speech. Believers all over the world, this is what I wanted to say to you. I am being victimized. The government, instead of addressing the problems of this country, they are busy talking about a preacher. They are busy talking about what they are calling unfounded theories on social media. When are you going to address our real problems as a government? When are you going to provide water for our citizens? When are you going to provide our medical workers with protective personal equipment? When are you going to build hospitals that can provide good service, good standard health services to our population? When are you going to address our economic problems? When are the prices going to stabilize of basic foodstuffs and commodities? When? When are you going to deal with the corruption? Why are you busy chasing after non-existing ghosts? Why are you obsessed with retaining power when you can't deliver what that power must deliver to its citizens? You gave a promise of what you're going to achieve in the first 100 days. You forgot continuing counting after the 100 days. Kuti tiri pa day number ana hapasisina ari kuzviziva. Because the promises could not materialize. And that is not right. A leader must make sure that he makes good for his word. You have got to be a leader with integrity. When you promise people something and you fail to deliver, you have to apologize. You have to explain yourself. That's what a leader does. Is this what you are doing? No. Instead of you apologizing for your inadequacies, your deficiencies, your inefficiencies, you are threatening the very people that are already weeping and groaning because of the unbearable cost of living today in Zimbabwe. That is not right. I want to tell you today as I conclude that I am going to die a happy man if I die. Because I've carried my assignment with dignity. I have not allowed the love of money to cloud my judgment. I have not allowed the love of money to sway me from upholding the security, the sanctity, and the purity of the gospel. I have spoken the mind of God without any perversion, without any adulteration. And for that I am proud. Kill me, I don't care. But before you kill me, remember, even if no one is going to kill you, you are also going to die. It's a matter of when one dies. We are all going to die. So those who are afraid of dying, they don't understand it. I am not afraid of dying because we are going to die anyway. Murder or no murder, people are going to die. Because of that, I am not afraid. Call me, invite me, let's talk. Ask me, why do you preach the way you do? And I will tell you the things that you don't understand. Why do you think that you've got the right to call me a self-proclaimed rabid preacher, but you do not allow me to define you? Sei muchifunga kuti mune simba rekundi-characterize inini, asi ina handina simba rekukutaurai kuti muri kurasika. Makapuwana ni mvumo vakazembe rekundi-define kuti I am a self-proclaimed, self-styled street preacher, self-styled rabid preacher. Are you not characterizing me? Saka bvuma iyo makapuwanani. Ini ndinorambidzwa kuti ndikuti muri mamedharas. An unjust law is not right. We must all be measured on the same scale of balance. If you have power to describe me from the way you see, I have power to describe you the way I see you. And that is not a crime. If this speech was meant to instill fear in me, I am sorry to tell you, Mr. Kazembe, this is another dismal failure. Good night. Meet you on Sunday, God willing.